time that the American people spoke out against this terrible dishonesty of these two brothers who are about as un-American as anyone that I can imagine.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Senator Harry Reid of Nevada, Democrat. He's the majority leader of the Senate, taking to the well of the Senate to isolate and demonize two individuals and call them un-American. And their crime? Well, they made money in America, and they're using that money to advance their political ideas and to advance, as they put it, freedom. Who are these two brothers? They are David and Charles Koch, the Koch brothers, and you've heard them talked about quite a bit, but you hardly ever hear from them. So what we did was we asked Rob Tappan. He's the Director of External Relations for Koch Industries to join us. Mr. Tappan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Tell me, let's just start with some background here. Who are these guys?
Well, Charles Koch and David Koch are two gentlemen from Wichita, Kansas. They're both in their 70s. Charles Koch is the CEO of Koch Industries, a very diversified conglomerate that spans many industries, including making oil into gasoline, but more importantly, also doing things like we're in the textiles industry, we're in the food industry, we own several cattle ranches, we are in the building products and paper industries. We own Georgia Pacific. So we're very diversified, and many of the things that everybody touches every day is actually something that, in one way or another, is made or is added value to by Koch Industries.
And they're in the news, of course, because they are active politically with a lot of the wealth that they have created here, right?
That's correct. I mean, these guys are job creators. Charles Koch and David Koch run a company that employs 60,000 Americans.
Wow.
We're almost in all 50 states, and one-third of our workforce is unionized, and these guys are true patriots. These
well, no, because we keep hearing that they're un-American.
Well, you know, the caricature that's painted by the Democrats is pretty pervasive out there, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to everybody today about this, because these are guys that are really trying to get America back on track. I don't know if you saw it, but last week Charles Koch wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, "Why I'm Fighting to Restore a Free Society." And he laid out a plan for restoring dignity and respect and equality before the law and personal responsibility for people. And it's a very simple, it's a very straightforward approach. And he thinks that this current administration and the leadership in government these days is just not getting it done.
Well, he talks about how Democrats have become collectivists.
That's correct.
What does that mean?
Well, collectivists, by that term, it's basically where government knows best, and of course, I think many of your listeners, most of your listeners, would disagree with that. Government doesn't know best, but collectivism is this concept that where government tries to tell you what you need to do, control the means of production, and really tries to decide how we lead our lives. And for most Americans, I think that rubs against us.
Our guest is Rob Tappan. He's Director of External Relations for Koch Industries, and the Koch brothers have been, as they are referred to these days by Democrats, they have been in the news quite a bit, mostly because they've been called a lot of names. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, he spoke out, and he made this charge. Listen to this.
The Koch brothers spent, I believe, $248 million of their own money in the last election cycle. They are, in fact, a political party to themselves.
So now, I think it's fair to say that any American hearing that would think to themselves, wow, now $248 million on one election cycle, that truly is a heck of a lot of money. Is that number accurate, and can you flesh it out a little bit? I mean, how is that money spent exactly? It sounds like they wrote a check to Mitt Romney for $248 million.
Yeah. Right, and that's, again, where the caricature sort of arises. Look, Charles Koch and David Koch are expressing their First Amendment rights to free speech, and yes, do they write checks and spend money in our political system? You betcha. But look, let's look at the other side as well. Let's look at the unions and what they've spent in the 2012 cycle. Unions spent over $653 million to try to advance their ideas to try to influence elections. Everybody can contribute, and everybody has their right to petition government and to be involved in the political system in one way or the other. These are not illegal activities. These are
Yes.
part of our intrinsic.
Not yet.
Right.
They're not.
Well, but I mean, you make a very good point. I mean, because the Democrats who have been coming out against the Koch brothers are suggesting that this is somehow improper. You play by the rules. There have never been, as far as I can find, and I've looked, there has never been any kind of accusation that the Koch brothers acted improperly in making any of these donations. They are apparently very careful about the law. And by the way, what's different between what the Koch brothers are doing and what George Soros does for the other side?
Or Tom Steyer, for that matter. I mean, maybe some of your listeners don't know, but Tom Steyer is an environmental activist who has pledged $100 million in this next election cycle to try to influence elections, to elect people who have this very radical energy environment agenda. And but nobody says anything about that. And so, look, I think that your average person, your average listener, wants to be a part of the political process, and I think that involvement in these things is really, really a good thing. But it has to be on both sides. It has to be above board. It has to be according to the law. And as you said, no one has ever accused the Kochs of not following the law, being compliant with all federal regulations and that sort of thing.
Well, Rob Tappan, I got to tell you, politicians right now, I think they're scrambling because these donations are being exposed. And I'm seeing on this letter at newsbusters.org right now, they have released a letter. This is damning, and they've got to be. Thank you so much for the generous Koch PAC contribution to my 2010 campaign for re-election to the United States Senate, signed Charles Schumer. Hold on a minute. So you're telling me that Chuck Schumer, the guy who's out there demonizing he actually accepted money? Wait, if you're so un-American, how are you giving money to Democrats as well?
Well, look, there's a lot of hypocrisy out there. There's a lot of posturing when people get on camera and when people go on MSNBC and start spouting off against the Kochs or any other a person who's politically active. It starts to smack of a lot of hypocrisy.
Yeah. Rob Tappan, thanks for joining us today on this. I really do appreciate you shedding some light. And by the way, Chuck Schumer, the guy who received that money from the Koch brothers?
Republicans are doing the bidding of the Koch brothers, the wealthy and huge corporations.
That's that same guy.